Hi guys, this is a reminder. You've got paper 2 expository essay due in a week, so you might want to get on that. A little bit of help. Narrow your research question. We had a big list of brainstorm questions that we were talking about last time. So I'd like to show you some ideas. One of our research questions was, do all students need to prepare for college? Well, obviously the answer to this particular question can't be resolved in 3 or 4 pages, so that's not what you write about. Because, I mean, if you start with a question like this, you're going to get practically a library full of sources talking about this issue. So you need to narrow this question down to something more bite-sized, because all you have time to research and talk about is something bite-sized. So, with that, I'm introducing you to a method of breaking down your questions so that you can head toward a reasonable research question that your paper can satisfy. Okay, so we begin with questions of fact, right? What are the facts regarding all students needing to prepare for college? Well, there are a whole lot of questions that would narrow this down, but I just wrote up a few. Now remember, we're needing to use some sources for this paper, so probably you want to use Isabel Sawhill and or Matthew Crawford as at least one of your sources, maybe 2, but what else? What other sources are speaking to this issue? So in order to begin doing that research, you want to start narrowing down what it is they talk about and what you want to talk about. So one question about the facts could be, Isabel Sawhill points out that a college education improves the careers of poor and minority students who graduate. Okay, so to what degree does a bachelor's degree improve someone's career opportunities? How would you know that? Well, I have a very strong recommendation. Use government websites. The best analysts in the world work for the United States government, and as far as I know, the education pages are still up. I know the Trump administration has decided to take down a whole lot of extremely important scientific research, but I think you can still find the reports on education with the U.S. government, and certainly with the state of California. The state of California keeps track of data on everybody who enrolls in college and says they want a bachelor's degree. So those who do finish, to what degree does a bachelor degree improve their career opportunities? Okay, so that's the kind of a question that you could pursue. That by itself actually would help narrow it down. You may want to make it slimmer. Maybe it's not just someone's career opportunities, but maybe it is poor and minority students, or maybe it's just minority students, or maybe it's just low-income students. To what degree are their career opportunities improved? Okay, another way of going about it. Sawhill concedes that a bachelor's degree raises a person's ability to function as a citizen in our democracy, right? There's all sorts of skill sets that are developed in college that everyone must develop in our general education requirements. It's about half of your bachelor's degree is gen ed. So, okay, so to what degree does the bachelor's degree improve somebody's ability to act intelligently when representing her or his political needs and interests? Okay, which is to say, you know, this is a democracy, and if something has happened with the government or other parties and your interests are not being considered, if, for example, somebody's building a waste disposal facility down the street from you, what are your resources in finding out whether or not that's going to be dangerous to your children? And what are your resources in fighting City Hall against that particular location of a waste treatment plant? Okay, so can you act in your own interests without a bachelor's degree or with a bachelor's degree? Which is better? How do you have the best resources for stating your case and explaining your ideas? And if it's that, do all students need to prepare for college? If college is providing a resource to us as citizens that is not happening in high school, that's a question. That's something that we would want to know. Another question of fact. Sawhill suggests that poor and minority students would be better off learning a trade in high school, right? She argues that, they're being encouraged to enroll in college, but they're not finishing college. So would they be better off just steering clear of the classes in philosophy and history as teenagers, and instead being funneled into metal shop and wood shop classes and electronics classes and that sort of thing? And as Crawford suggests, right, in his essay, would those students be better off learning just trade by hands separated from brain, or should the wood shop and metal shop and electronics shop also explain to them the principles of physics necessary to understand why they are doing what they are doing? Sometimes if people know that something will electrocute them, they're less likely to make an error than they would be if they're just told don't do that, right? All right, so again, Sawhill suggests that the poor and the minority students would be better off, but what could these students gain if they are tracked into vocational or technical school very young? And also you'd want to know, what would they lose if they were tracked into those classes and lost the college prep classes? Okay, so these are questions of fact that could be used as a basis of research for your essay too. Another set, what is the nature of the issue? Sawhill praises tracking in countries where it eliminates the social biases of color and economic status. She cites Great Britain and Germany, for example. Can the U.S. return to tracking without pushing people of color into low-wage jobs? I've got a citation for you, but actually that's all over the web. You could very easily find out about the former ideas about tracking and about what has happened with it during the 20th century. So it's a question of fairness and equality, right? Would we be able to use tracking without returning to segregation, for example? Okay, another question of the nature of things. Can we assume that the efforts to encourage college enrollment for minorities and low income is futile? It hasn't worked maybe so far. Actually, it has. An awful lot of people who are low income and minorities have improved their status by getting a college degree. But Sawhill's saying not nearly as many as who want to or as who try. Should we agree with Sawhill and say let's give that up? Let's stop encouraging these people to do something that they simply can't do? Or should we keep looking for ways to do it right? I'm an idealist. I don't give up that easily. Another idea, ask questions of policy. This is a great research question. What policy changes have occurred since 2013? And there have been some. Common Core, right? Think about Common Core. Has Common Core addressed Sawhill's discomforts or Crawford's? Are there changes to the curriculum already that have happened since 2013 that have improved the situation over what they're talking about? So any one of these questions can be used to open up this one, all right, and to further your research. You could take any one of these questions and be working toward a paper on that. Okay, and if you were doing that, let's say you decided that you wanted to research tracking. I found, just on Google, just a real quick search, Tucker argues that the U.S. does track students. This is what I concluded. But it doesn't tell them that it's doing it. Parents, even teachers, don't seem to know that tracking is really happening. And Tucker argues that it is happening. He says the title of his essay is Student Tracking versus Academic Pathways, Different or the Same. And this was in Education Week. He writes for Education Week. And this was published in 2015. And it's a blog on Education Week. Okay, so there's the URL. You could copy and paste and read it if you like. And this is a graph that comes from Tucker's essay that I thought was kind of helpful. Our so-called second chance system is among the most aggressive sorting systems in the world. This is a really strong claim because in theory, students can take whatever classes they want to. They don't need to see counselors, they just need to sign up. But I suppose what actually happens is that students might get scared of taking German or taking philosophy or taking chemistry. Well, and if they're scared and they don't do it, they're kind of choosing not to prepare themselves for college. But what leads up to that? Is there a way in which confidence is built in students so that they believe that they can do everything? And confidence is undermined in students to make them feel that they can do nothing. Anyway. Happy research. I hope to hear from you soon. Maybe you want to show me what you're doing your research on. Let's have a look. Let's talk about it. Okay? Have a good one.